Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today. I hope all of you are doing fantastic. Today we are sitting down to go through a plethora of Xbox news revolving around the Activision Blizzard deal, as well as the latest updates on upcoming Xbox exclusives courtesy of Video Games Chronicle. If you're new here and you're into this type of information, consider subscribing. We're doing the format a bit differently today, so please do let me know your thoughts on it. But as always, your boy's not a legal expert. I don't say that to protect myself because I've covered this for about a year now, and I'd like to say I'm at least decently educated on the subject and have provided pretty solid takes overall. But if you are interested in the more legal take on things, then my buddy Hogue Law is finally back. It's so great to see my man doing well, doing his thing. Virtual Legality is back. I'll have that link down below if you want to hear a lawyer speak on what's going on between Activision, Xbox, and Sony currently. With that, it's time for my take, and if you're new here, again, consider subscribing. Let's get into it. Okay, we're here on Reuters. For those who don't know and aren't caught up, Xbox agreed to a 10-year deal with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty to their platform once the deal with Activision closes, and they've also agreed with Nvidia to bring their cloud library to GeForce Now when the deal closes. This is all important because these are concessions that Xbox is making in order to get this deal across the finish line. Now, we already talked about that, but the question was, how were regulators going to respond to this one? And right now, Reuters is reporting right here, the European Commission, which is scheduled to decide on the deal by April 25th, is not expected to demand that Microsoft sells assets to win its approval, the people said. This is important because this move by Xbox was made in response to demands to potentially divest parts of Activision Blizzard to get the deal done. What this means effectively is that they would get maybe Blizzard and King, but not Activision, which doesn't sound like it makes sense, right? And that's the idea here is Xbox has said that's not really realistic. We can't do that. And obviously they don't want to do it. You don't want to give up the two biggest parts of the pie you're going for, which is King with mobile games, as Phil has said, but also we know this whole deal is about Call of Duty entirely. So with that, all this is important to Xbox, and now it's being said that the EU will not be really potentially asking Xbox to sell anything off to get the deal done because these deals are being made, and they say in addition to the licensing deals for rivals, Microsoft may also have to offer other behavioral remedies to allay concerns of other parties than Sony, one of the people said. Such remedies typically refer to the future conduct of the merged company. So something to just keep in mind moving down the line here, but that is something that's, again, future-proofing, which Xbox has shown they have zero hesitation in doing. But this is significant because even though everything I think falls in line with the FTC, to get a major global win like this potentially is a good step forward for the deal and shows that the lengths they're going to may work. Of course, we won't know in this case until April 25th, and it's not really until August that we're going to learn more about the FTC and where they stand, and things are really going to heat up. Now, speaking of which, we'll move over here to purexbox.com, which is, by the way, side note, if you're looking for a good, reliable, Xbox-centric site, please check this website out. It's the first site I always check when I go to write up the Defining Duke script because they just do a good job collecting all the information for Xbox fans, putting it in one place, right sources, good people, great website. Please check it out. But I digress. This article is titled, Microsoft Granted Access to Certain Sony Docs as FTC Continues to Scrutinize ActiBliz Deal. So obviously we know the FTC is the one who's motioned to block this deal, and we know if that happens and things fall through, according to some people in the media, this means that Xbox may cease to exist, which I think is a load of BS. But the article goes on to mention a number of things like late last month, Microsoft issued a subpoena to Sony in order for the Japanese company to provide documents relating to the deal for an FTC court hearing. That FTC court hearing goes ahead this August, as I've mentioned, but thanks to a new judge order, we know a bit more about what Sony will have to explain ahead of its final decision. Of 6 distinct requests Sony made to limit information provided to Microsoft and the FTC, 4 have been denied and 2 have been granted. So basically, Sony will need to fully explain 4 requests it wanted to restrict information on, and 2 requests won't have to be fully detailed by the PlayStation owner. Okay, so that's already interesting that they're trying to hide some stuff, but some of these 6 requests aren't particularly relevant to us onlookers and relate more to the hearing itself, but a few of them are pretty interesting. Sony has managed to wriggle its way out of providing, quote, performance reviews or evaluations, end quote, for its CEO, Jim Ryan, while the PlayStation owner has also managed to limit Microsoft's access to information on existing third-party deals like those with Activision over the Call of Duty franchise. Very interesting there. However, Microsoft is going to get some of the information it desired. Xbox wanted to see and showcase to regulators how Sony has been handling relationships with third-party developers and publishers since 2012. PlayStation has managed to limit that to just the last 3 years, with the investigation now only gaining access to information about Sony's third-party deals from 2019 and onwards. Much of Microsoft's other gains relate to the court dealings themselves, and yeah, they aren't particularly interesting, truth be told. Feel free to look over the full judge order anyway, especially if you're suffering from insomnia of late. As far as we know, and we can figure it out, this US FTC court hearing is still scheduled for August 2nd, where Microsoft and Sony will go head-to-head and try to figure out the whole Activision Blizzard deal. And that's one you should pay attention to, because think of it like Epic and Apple, where there was a lot of tea spilled and a lot of information came out, like even emails from Phil Spencer about exclusivity. That type of stuff will happen here, no doubt about it. We're going to learn a lot about each of these companies and what skeletons they hide in their closet. Why does this matter? Why does Xbox want this stuff? Well, I imagine the goal here was information on existing third-party deals, which we see here that they have managed to limit access to. They haven't completely forbade it, but limit it, because Xbox can show how PlayStation, how Sony interacts with the market. Is there any type of internal benefit? Like I heard Hogue say one good example, which is there a bonus tied to Jim Ryan's contract if he were to sign X amount of exclusivity deals? Like, does he get compensated? And it shows how PlayStation behaves in the market. It exposes that practice, and it can definitely give them leverage in how Microsoft needs Activision to compete in the gaming space. If they see Sony has internal rewards tied to Jim Ryan, if they see Sony clearly benefits from their current market strategy, which is locking down third-party deals, then that may give Xbox a little bit of an edge, something they can put their shoulder into, saying, see, look, we need this to compete with PlayStation. So it's very interesting to see that now, come August, some tea undoubtedly will spill, and we will learn much about not just PlayStation, but also Xbox and some of the skeletons they hide in their closet. We saw how Xbox talked about Game Pass sales and what that meant for games entering the service, although I think that one's been spun completely off course from what it actually means, and I talked about it in a separate video, but I digress. That's what's going on with Activision Blizzard right now. Pretty interesting stuff. And the last one we want to get to, again from Pure Xbox, is here over on Pure Xbox. They've covered the recent episode of Video Game Chronicles' new podcast where Andy Robinson spoke about upcoming Xbox games. You want to know what's coming after Starfield potentially? Listen up. So here's what Andy said. And by the way, Andy's the one who also said that we are going to get some type of Starfield showcase announcement soon. So if we do get it soon, then you can maybe take some of this stuff to the bank a little bit more assuredly. Now, with that, Andy says, I think the nearest ones for them are Hellblade 2 and probably Avowed. That's the next big thing for them that they'll be talking about. From my understanding, those two are the closest. Unfortunately for Xbox fans, Robinson went on to discuss what games are further down the pipeline, including one project that continues to stun him in the terms of how long it's taking to develop. Quote, it's still pretty stunning that Fable is still miles away. Perfect Dark is not close. Everwild is not close. Everything looks so great on paper, and it's just the games are not quite ready yet. Yeah, Fable is definitely a surprising one. Based off an interview that Phil just did with Xbox On, it sounds like he's a little more involved in this project because this is one of, if not the first game he shipped when he was a part of Xbox. So I imagine since management is heavy in on it, we've heard Matt Booty say like, this game's fantastic. We really are super excited about it. I think this is the company darling, if you will, quietly behind the scenes. And because of that, I think it's going to take longer. I thought it would be something that maybe we do see this summer showcase, but following this report, it's something that I definitely don't feel as confident in. I think given it was announced in 2020, it is time to see it, but I feel like if it is still apparently miles away, they'd be foolish to show anything else off, even if we are hungry for an update. However, funny enough, on Defining Duke this week, we talked about upcoming Xbox games, and I had said Hellblade 2 and Avowed, I don't want to say guarantees because I don't know for sure, but if I were to be a betting man, I'm not, but if I were to be, I would say these are the two games that I would personally say this summer showcase we should expect, especially if Xbox is saying, hey, in the next year, again, like they did last showcase, these are what you're getting for the next 12 months. These are the games releasing. I would say Hellblade 2 and Avowed should technically be a part of that showcase. The question is, if either of these manage to hit the holiday window, do any of these stun us? Hellblade 2 has been sort of the pinned game for some type of holiday release for Xbox fans, although we just learned in a recent financial report that in 2021, full production began on Hellblade 2, so I could see that slipping into early 2024 personally, but that game's been in development for a while as well. These games are taking forever to come around, and I know fans are hungry, but this is about what we have right now. We know after Starfield, we still got 2 bona fide bangers on the way. It's after these 2 that I think things are going to get a bit hazy, because we were thinking Perfect Dark, Fable, Everwild, and there are a number of other Xbox Game Studios titles, but what's going on with Compulsion is a good question to ask. What's going on with id? Is Machine Games further along with Indiana Jones? There's still plenty of surprises tucked away, but in the terms of things that are close up or things that we've known about for a while, it's interesting to see that Fable is still far way off. And of course, Perfect Dark not being close shouldn't be a surprise. I've covered pretty aggressively that game in the sense that a lot of people have denied, no, there's no way that Xbox is completely mismanaging what's going on with the coalition. I mean, when half of the original team leaves, it only makes sense that it shouldn't be close at all. And then you're bringing in Crystal Dynamics. It's a complete mess there, no doubt, but I hope they're on track. And then Everwild, man, rare. I know y'all are popping off with Sea of Thieves, so no one's really going to complain, at least in the financial department. But come on, we want to see what else you're working on. But that's what's been going on in the Xbox realm lately, between what we see here with Reuters, what we see here with the request for documents, and now some upcoming exclusive updates. It's getting very interesting, and things are indeed turning around. We seem to have some form of a roadmap for Xbox, which we didn't have for a while. We also see that they're starting to get access to information that they're going to need to fight their battle, and they're even winning over regulators in certain parts of the world. So overall, not too bad, but I'm curious to see how it all ends up. As we've learned with this Activision Blizzard deal, up, 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 down, down, down. Just a nice roller coaster. So we'll see, but until then, take excellent care of yourselves. Again, let me know what your thoughts on this format. It's certainly much easier to produce, but with that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.